And hello, and welcome to the Legacy Insights Podcast. I am your host, Mov'n Mike, and this is episode number one, Intro to LIP and Why We Need It. All right, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Right, I just want to take a second, real quick. Listen, I need you guys to go over to at Legacy Insights Podcast and subscribe. Follow the YouTube. We're going to be doing some really big things in the coming weeks and months and years, right? So I want you all guys to go along for the ride. I want you to get notified when every time episode comes out. All right. So again, I am Moving Money Mike, and I am your host, and this is episode one to the LIP Legacy Insights Podcast. We're going to be discussing entrepreneurship and the financial strategies to guide you in your goals and your dreams, right? Flat out, we're going to be talking about all different types of things that are going to get you from where you are to where you're going. We're going to simply put, we're just going to provide insight to get your money and your mind right, right? That's really what it is, right? So here we go. We're going to be covering topics, tips, tricks, interviews. Let's see, we're going to be talking about webinars, open QA, current events, shows that will how that focus on how they affect you and how they shouldn't affect you, right? Because like whether information is coming or going, it always has that effect on you and your thought process and your decision making, right? Whatever it might be, right? So what we're going to be talking about is going to make sure that it moves you in the right direction, and or if it's not moving you in the right direction, that it gives you some insight to how that you could possibly move yourself, right? Because see, getting stuck is not an option, right? Getting stuck is not an option. What we want to do is provide you the wisdom and the strategies to take the next step, right? Because as long as you're taking one step forward every day, hey, you're making progress. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be helping you with that. So I want you to consider something as we're going through this, right? Ask yourself these questions. These are really, really important. So I just want you to, to take this time to like let this soak in. What good is life without health? Right? This is some deep stuff I'm going to be talking about. What good is health without wealth? What good is wealth without a lifestyle? And what good is a lifestyle without a legacy? So we're going to be going to revisit these questions during the show. So I want you to, kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we're talking about this over the next few minutes or so. Like I said, this is episode one. I really want to get this out there so that you guys know that this is the place that you really want to park yourself for the duration of the show, right? We're looking at doing some pretty detailed shows on financial strategies, what they look like, how these strategies will be able to be implemented where you are, right? Um, how you can best position yourself and your family members to hit those goals that we're going to be that you really want to get to, right? So my goal is to want what you want, right? That's my goal, is to get you what you want, right? And if I could do that, then really that's the fulfillment of the show that I'm looking to achieve. So we need to know, what is a legacy, right? What is your legacy, right? How do you build a legacy, right? Where do you begin? What does it entail, right? What is sight versus insight when it comes to a legacy? Now there you go, right? You can see some things. You can you might know what you're thinking about, but really you got to take the legacy that you're looking to achieve and work backwards, right? What is it going to really take to build that, right? And that's what we're going to be touching on, right? Some of the guests that I'll be having lined up coming forward will be assisting in this process, right? Because no man's an island, right? I like to think that I know enough to provide added value, right? But it's really going to be great when I bring in some of the mentors and some of the team players, some of the guests with their vast experience. That's going to help us to really bring bring the goods and drop the gold nuggets that are going to be able to move you forward, and that's really going to make this an interesting voyage. So, like, this is the maiden voyage of the show. My goal is to assist you in becoming. Right, that's really what it's all about. You're becoming. Like, really, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? How do you want to get there? What do you want to look like once you get there? What do you want to look on the way to where you're going? Right, like, all these things matter, right? And that's all part of that legacy building. That's all part of that insight to the legacy, right? You got to know the finer details, because that's what's going to carry you through. Because we already know we're in a storm, right? We already know that we're in a fight for our lives, right? That's why we need this show. That's why the Legacy Insights podcast exists, right? Because it's all about the insight to the legacy, right? What is it going to take? We're fighting these battles, man, every day. We're getting up. We're doing the 9 to 5. We're getting up. We're grinding out as entrepreneurs. We're getting up, dealing with the family, the kids, all the life that we're afforded today, and then how do we get through all that and then have enough strength and the wherewithal to hit our dreams, right? Because you got to pay the bills, right? You got to pay the bills. A lot of us are doing 9 to 5s and jumping right to the 5 to 12s, right? To work on their dreams, right? There's some people who have just said, "Hey, I'm gonna jump right in there and I'm gonna do this damn thing from the gate, no parachute, man. You know, I'll learn how to fly on the way down, right? And so I can soar when I get to the top, right? There's a lot of people working this thing from a lot of different angles. And what we're really striving to do is to bring you the value, bring you the heat that's going to keep you afloat. That's what this show is going to be all about, man. So my name is Moving Money Mike. I am the host of the Legacy Insights podcast. Hit that, go to the address right there at Legacy Insights Podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know, you know, uh, uh, if you're liking what you're hearing. Right, that's what it's all about. Right, and so again, my goal is to assist you in becoming. Right, that's really what about the better informed entrepreneur and be financially free. So it's time to let's get smarter. All right. So how this evolved for me? Where did this come from? Like, this is that part of the becoming, right? And my story starts a long time ago, right? Tell you a little bit. I'm a '60s baby, so this story starts back a while, right? And The beginnings of an entrepreneur, I think it was already instilled into me from my early childhood, watching my mom. Right, my dad, he worked a 9 to 5 wherever he could find work, and growing up lower middle class. If there's a such a thing nowadays. Is I don't even know if a lower middle class even exists. I don't even think they just right. We came up in the '60s, and the '70s. So, lower middle class was a thing. Um, and so I watched my mom, she was a seamstress, and, she did piecework, right? And she was damn good. She had a lot of customers, but I remember her, getting the patterns and, teaching herself how to sew as a young lady, a young mom, you know, with us, my brothers, my siblings, and sister, and making money, making ends meet. Right, that's just what they did back then, making ends meet. And I watched my mom work, and it instilled in me the fortitude to keep moving. Right, my dad was a hard worker. He went to work every day. Right, I came home late at night. Right, so I got the concepts of what it really takes, to hold a household together. Right, and so watching my mom build clients, work with people, always having a smile on her face. Uh, um, the customer's always right mentality, right? Service with a smile, right? That's really what kept my mom's name out there, and kept her business coming in and kept it growing. So the beginnings of an entrepreneur for me began early, watching that example in my mom, working right out of home, being a homemaker. Um, I think there was her one of her first jobs outside of the home after she actually worked herself was with Frank's Big and Tall. I don't know if you people out there even heard of Frank's Big and Tall. Right now they've got the 3X of the stores out there, right? The Big and Tall stores, right? But my mom, when she worked in the first Frank's Big and Tall, and that's where she honed her craft of being a seamstress. But the beginnings of entrepreneurship for me started right out of high school. Um, I graduated high school, and right out of high school, I went to go working as a laborer, right? And I don't even know if they were even paying me by the hour at that time, right? But what I realized in that learning, right, because it's all learning, right? I was pushing that wheelbarrow around the construction sites, and what it was that, hey, I noticed that the kids or the guys working in the house had really nice trucks, right? And they had the Ford F-150s, the Tundras, the Toyotas. They had all the different types of the GMCs, right? I'm like, wow, those are really nice trucks, man. They got it going on over there working in that house, and me, I'm pushing around this wheelbarrow out here with my Toyota liftback Celica. I don't know if you guys even remember that one. It was a 5 speed, but it was mine, right? And working that job. And anyway, long story short, I said I had to get into that house, and I found one guy who took a chance on me, and right away started learning how to tape and finish, and it was crazy. Matter of fact, that wasn't even the first one. It was drywall. We were hanging drywall, and and then I got to tape and finishing. But when that drywall experience for me was amazing. But the guy's name was George, and I think his last name was Lopez. Big Spanish guy, and George. Yep. Um, and yeah, I think that was his name, George. I'm talking many years ago. I'm talking 40 years ago, easily, right? And so anyway, long story short, learning how to drywall. We were hanging 100 boards a day back then for $2.50 a board, right? So if we wanted to make $100, right, we had to hang 50 boards a day, right? Easy. Um, and then he said, well, hell, we want to make more than that. So we would start doing damn near 100 boards a day, me and another guy, and we bust our asses, right? And we made that money, right? And that was nailed off, right? So that was part of the beginnings of that entrepreneurship. And the biggest revelation for me was when I got my paycheck, right? From pushing the wheelbarrow around and being an employee, right? Making a couple of dollars an hour. I think, well, what the hell the minimum wage was back then? Shit, I don't know if it was $3, $4 an hour. The hell if I remember, but it wasn't a lot, right? It might have been $5 an hour, right? Back in, I'm going to have to do my research on that one. What the minimum wage was back there in the 80s. But anyway, um, my paycheck increased by over $300, right? $400, right? Just by working piecework and being an entrepreneur and being a 1099 worker from a W-2. So that's going to be uh, um, uh, a pop quiz for you guys in one day. Are you W-2 or 1099? Right? Because there's a real big difference between the two. And we're going to touch on that as well. Like the power of entrepreneurship and what it can afford you and the doors it can open up for you and the avenues, right? That it can do for you. So I built some marketable skills. And as I developed myself in my skills in my trade, right? I was able to expand my horizons and expand the income, right? As an entrepreneur, right? I was self-employed, as they would call it today, right? And there's a lot to unpackage here. So this is like the maiden voyage, but we're going to be touching back on these things as throughout the episodes of the series that continue. So this is really big, right? So I was developing those marketable skills. I was hanging drywall. I was taping, finishing. I was doing inside finished carpentry, right? I started getting into a little bit of electrical. The next thing you know, I was doing everything in the house, right? From soup to nuts, floor to ceiling, doing flooring, hardwood, laminate, carpet, right? Painting, finish work, finished carpentry, right? Then I got into the commercial side. Doing township type buildings, working for prevailing wage. Got real damn good at my craft. If that's to make a long story short, building those marketable skills, and it allowed me to sign my own ticket. Right, it allowed me to start my own home improvement company. Right, and I was real proud of that. Eventually, I had over 12 guys. I had a business partner. Um, and back in those days, we were doing really good. Back in those days, we were doing McMansions, well, they call them mini mansions today. We would do 2 to 3 of those a week. You know, pretty much, all the drywall, all the spackle, tape and finish, and all the finished trim work, closets, you know, doors, windows, all that other things. We were doing really well, and that is the marketable skills in the entrepreneurship that really launched my entrepreneurial career, right? It allowed me to teach other people so that they could feed their families, right? And that's where I got the biggest joy. Right? I got the biggest joy out of being able to mold someone, teach them a craft, teach them a trade from the beginnings, show them the ins and outs of the business, and then hey, if they were ready to fly, I let them fly, man. Right? This competition is great. It's great for business. And if you're one of those people who likes to develop people and lead people, I would suggest strongly that you get into a business and you develop leaders and develop people, and you help them get what they want. And guess what? By attrition, you get what you're looking for. The lifestyle, the gratitude, the fulfillment. Of course, it's about money, right? But it's also about what did you do for someone today, right? Did you help them out? Did you help them to feed themselves, feed their family, pay their bills, right? How how um how did you to assist someone today? So that was really great. So and in all that process, some things happen along the way. Start developing the leadership mentality. Wow. Believing in myself, to lead and inspire others, right? So man, um once you become competent, here comes the confidence, right? And that is something that, like, you can't not you can't fake that, right? The competence, right? And that's why we're here with the Legacy Insights podcast, right? Because I've learned some things, right? And if I don't give it away, it's no good. It's gonna die with me. Like, listen, I don't want that all this information I've gathered over the 40 plus years to just be my information. I want to give it to y'all. I want y'all to take it and run with it, right? And I want you to be able to say one day, hey man, I heard something that brother said, and it really helped me along the way. And if that did that, man, wow, wow. I'm fulfilling the my purpose here, to be an example, or someone who gave back, right? And if this podcast will allow me to do that, then man, I'm really be blessed, right? So I started developing that leadership mentality, believing in myself, and helping people become leaders and those business owners themselves. And I started developing a mindset of a business owner, right? Because you know you get the marketable skills, you get the leadership mindset as you're helping people, you're growing, you're comfortable, you're competent, you're confident, you've gotten comfortable in your role, right? And then you realize, hey, I'm really doing this thing that I set out to do. I am that business owner, right? I was a small business owner, right? I never really hit 50 plus employees, right? But I made pretty damn good money. I made pretty damn good money, and I was afforded to change my keys to my house. I was able to change the keys to my car, right? And support my family, and that's what it was about. That was about me. No being self taught, right? And being someone took me under their wing, and then I started being, just proactive, right? So becoming that business owner, I began to believe I could make a living and build a business, and that's what I did. And I did that for well over 30 years, right? Of in the construction trades, and um, beginning from nailing things together in the construction trades to converting over to the energy efficiency trade, um, and learning how to air seal things together, right? And then I decided, hey, this is not a bad deal. I'm talking about an evolution in skill set, but also in business and in mindset. And what happened was, as I was learning all these things about um, the trades that I was in, I was seeing other avenues to add to the mix, as you will, because right, having one source of income is never going to be enough. Right, you got to have multiple streams of income, and that's one of the things that I've learned. And so I was doing that because I was working in one trade, learning another trade, and incorporating that into my business. Right, you see where I'm going with this? So now I might have been working in one genre, right? But what I was doing was I wasn't just doing drywall. I just wasn't doing taping and spackling. I wasn't just doing flooring. I was doing it all. I was doing carpentry. I was doing roofing. I was doing siding. I was doing some plumbing. I was bringing in the electricians. I was taking on the whole job, right? And so that allowed me to say, hey, not only can I do this in the building trades, but there's a whole lot of other trades that touch that around that. So what I found out was I made a lot of money, but I spent a lot of money. And what I realized was, hey, I need to take control of my finances, right? And how do I do that? Right? Well, guess what? I started searching, right? And what happened was I said, let me try real estate because I believed that was well, it actually was the evolution to the next phase, right? Of entrepreneurship. So I got my license, got started in real estate, and found out, you know what? Selling houses is not like the construction, right? You can build it and get paid, but if you get a listing or you don't get a listing, guess what? You may not never get paid until somebody else sells it, right? And I didn't want to waste a whole lot of time waiting for someone else to sell the house or for me to sell someone else's house, right? They say it takes about a year to close your first deal in the real estates, and I didn't wait around a year, right? Because I was used to that fast money, and so I stepped away from that, and then started looking at the other areas of professional licensing, and what I found was the financial services industry. And so over the last oh wow, the past over a decade or so, I've been in the financial services industry. I put down the tools, um, got licensed as a financial professional. Um, I started helping people to set up their retirements, protect their families, protect their assets, um, and realize how fulfilling that was, right? Because you got to know people where they are, right? Where what their experience with life has been, what their experience with money has been, right? Do you remember the conversations that you would have with your parents at the table? You probably didn't have any because guess what? People didn't talk about money or their financial problems with their kids, right? Or with the only time you would hear about money in the house is when they would be arguing about, like, your mom and dad would be arguing about, there's not enough money, or what the hell you doing with the money, or you're not making enough, and the bills due, and damn it, I'm working hard as I can. Right? Those are kind of the conversations you used to hear. I know that's what I heard when I was coming up, and so when I got my licensing, I wanted to be able to address that with people, to show them the urgency of now, right? The time to start building financial independence is right now. It doesn't matter if you're younger or middle aged or older, right? The time is now, because the time value of money is really what's happening, right? The sooner you get started, the better off you'll be a little bit later. Um, I had that epiphany that said, "Hey, you know what? You can do these trades for the rest of your life, or you can start working a lot smarter, right, and make the same amount of money and even much more, and for my family, and help people along the way, right, so that they can achieve their goal. Because what I want is what you want for you. That's just the basis of this, right? So whatever it is that you're after, it is my privilege to allow for you to allow me to work with you to get to where you're going. So you ask yourself about when you're building something, how long do you take to build it? Well, until, right? You build it until, right? Consistently focus over a long period of time until success. That's it. That's it. You got to have focus, right? And that's an acronym too. It says focus is follow one course until successful, right? That's focus. You follow that one course until successful, you will be where you're trying to get to, right? That's just the way it is, man. It's just time and consistency. And how do you find success, right? That's something that consistency and focus will allow you to define it, right? How do you define it? Is it money? If you're focused on money and you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to make money. um is it outward prestige? Do you look like you're successful? Well, focus and consistency on that outward appearance, it will eventually materialize, right? Or is it inner acknowledgement? Focus and consistency will do that for you as well, right? Because you will become competent and then confident, right? That's what focus and consistency will allow you. And then it'll also provide power and influence. And a lot of people will get those two confused, power and influence. Well, they're two very separate, different things, right? So what is power? Power is the ability to move someone whether they want to or not. That's just power, right? They may not like it, they may not agree with you, but because of your position, right, and your authority, that power over them, or what you have control with, and maybe you're a boss or a owner, and you're just telling people, just do as I say. That's power. But influence, now that's the true nature of what they call a win-win, right? Influence is when you're able to allow to assist someone to fulfill their needs, as well as the needs of the organization, or mine, right? So when you sit down and you're talking to someone, and when I say I want to help you get what you want, right? That's influence. That's when you or the other person gets the benefit of the relationship, as well as the person who you're sitting down across from, right? That is influence. We actually were talking about. I was talking with that today, with a group of people, about the influence, and how it is beneficial, and what should be. That's what you should always strive to be, in as influencer, not a manipulator. Two different things. Another thing that you don't want to manipulate. You want to be able to influence people to see that, hey, if you can get everything that you, well, majority of what you are looking for, and the person helping you or assisting you or working with you can get what they're majority looking for, now that's a win-win, and that's influence. So I want to leave you with that. I want to know that, like, um, the Legacy Insights podcast is the place for you to find, you know, the nuggets that you're going to be looking for, the suggestions, the comments, the all of the nuggets that are going to come with all of the guests that we're going to have on the show. Um, and some of the financial knowledge that we're going to be dropping, right from the textbooks, not from off the top of the head. Some of the things are going to be off the top of the head, but I'm going to be sharing facts and figures, right? I'm going to be showing you the real nuggets of how to do what it is we're talking about. This is not that guru program where I'm going to be trying to tell you, hey, you can become, a gazillionaire in just a few short weeks if you just do this and do that and you do. No, that's not how it works. It's called the time value of money, right? Wealth is made over time, right? You might get lucky. You might buy a Bitcoin. You might hit the lottery. You might, do something else, but that's not what this is, right? These are true, proven time one strategies that we're going to be sharing here so that your family can be secure. You can feel safe. You can feel confident, right? The, that what you're going to be getting is going to be right for you, right? So with that, I want to say thank you very much for the privilege of your time. I want to say thank you very much for just allowing me to come out and do this first episode of the Legacy Insights podcast. I am Moving Money Mike. I am your host, and I want to say thank you. Peace out. Take care. Until the next episode.